Today I'm going to be reading from Exodus 16th chapter 1 through the 19th verse. And the story is about the children of Israel being fed. They were complaining that they were hungry. They escaped Egypt and they were hungry, not starving, just hungry. And God sent them manna from heaven, bread from heaven. The first verse. And they journeyed to Elim, from Elim, and all the congregation of the children of Israel came to the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month after they departed from the land of Egypt. On the 15th day of the second month, that marked 1 month after leaving Egypt, since they left on the 15th of the previous month. And you can find that at Exodus 12th chapter, 18th verse. Now the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, they came out from Elim, an oasis of rest and comfort, okay? And that is explained in Exodus 15th chapter, 27th verse. They headed towards Sinai, a place to meet with God and receive his law. In between Elim and Sinai was the wilderness of Sin. Okay, now in the original text, the name wilderness of Sin is not, has nothing to do with sin that we commit. It's a location. Okay? Now going on to second and third verse. Then the whole congregation of the children of Israel complained against Moses and Aaron. As you recall, Aaron was Moses' brother in the wilderness. And the children of Israel said to them, "Oh, that we had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the pots of meats and when we had ate bread to the full. For you have brought us out into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger." Now the whole congregation of excuse me, complained against Moses and Israel in the wilderness. Okay, they complained because they did not have enough food. The supplies they carried with them from Egypt began to run out, and they had to be sustained in the wilderness. It would seem that starvation was more anticipated than experienced. Okay? In other words, they did not live through the weeks and weeks of famine, nor did they saw their family and friends die of malnutrition. They weren't starving, they were just hungry. They didn't even have to kill their livestock for food. Okay? They were just hungry. And they complained. Okay. When we sat by, to explain a little bit more, when we sat by the pots of meat, when we ate bread to the full, Israel selectively, okay, get this, selectively remembered the past and thought of their time in Egypt as a good time. You remember? They were in bondage for 400 years, crying out to the Lord. But now they remember, oh, we were in Egypt, we just sat around the stove, waiting for the food, our meat to be cooked. Life was good. Okay? Does that sound familiar? How sometimes we have selective memory. We don't remember. We want to go back to a sinful existence. Okay? We pray and we pray and we pray. God will bring us out of this bad situation, but we don't remember the pain. Okay? We remember the pleasure. Okay? You have brought us out into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly. This is another common practice among those who complain. They insisted that Moses and Aaron had bad or evil intentions. Of course, Moses and Aaron had no interest in killing the people of Israel. Okay? You remember? They went there to rescue. Moses went there to bring them out. Okay? So, not to bring them out to save them, to rescue them. So, we have to remember that sometimes we move from one location. It could be physically or uh, or financially, or whatever. But God brought us out of a bad situation. We got to focus on the power of the Lord. Okay, fourth and fifth verse. God announces to Moses the coming of bread from heaven. Okay, this is a new thing. Bread from heaven. Okay, then the Lord said to Moses, behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain quota every day, that I may test them, whether they will walk in my law or not. And it shall be on the sixth day that they should pair what they bring in, and it should be twice as much as they had gathered daily. Okay. Behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you. This was a remarkable promise. Bread doesn't normally rain from heaven, yet God promised that he would provide for Israel in this unexpected way. And that's how God is. Sometimes he does things that never been done before in our life. So we wonder how he's going to help us in this situation, or how we're going to be rescued in this situation. And throughout the Bible, there's an example of that. You remember the lion, Daniel in the lion's den, or the Hebrew boys in the fiery furnace, crossing the Red Sea, on and on and on. God is almighty, and he can do whatever he wants. Okay, he can do whatever he wants, and that's what we need to focus on. The people should go out and gather a certain quota every day. God promised them bread from heaven, but didn't promise to drop it into their mouths. Okay, you gotta. I remember this story where this Christian was flooding. Okay, in Houston, Texas, it happens a lot. But this Christian house was flooded. Okay, he was on the rooftop, water everywhere. I'm sure you've heard this story before in different variation. So people came in boat. No, I'm not waiting for. I'm waiting for God to rescue me. People come in helicopter. No, I'm waiting for God to rescue me. And of course, the end of the story, that the Christian died because of the water. Okay, I've always felt this way, is that God, he takes us to a point, okay? Then it's up to us to utilize our strength, our mind, our friends, our church, our community. It's not for us to just sit and bread rain down into our mouth. Okay, they had to go out and gather the bread. They had to work for it. Okay, they had to work for it. And it, to me, and I never really heard this preached before, as I recall, but God created humans. Okay, and some of us can do more or less than others, but I think it's our responsibility to do as much as we can. Then not overreach ourselves and we're God, we don't need God, we can do everything ourselves. No. I feel that it's our responsibility to get up and do what we can. And some of us can't even get up. Some of us are bedridden. Some of us are paralyzed. So don't take that as literal. But it's our responsibility to do what we can each day. And sometimes, and this is what I've told folks in the gym, sometimes our 100% yesterday could have been lifting 100 pounds. Our 100%, we giving it all we got today, could be only 90 pounds. That 100% shifts because we are human. And there are factors, human factors, there are spiritual factors, there are social factors. But I feel, and you're going to agree or disagree, but I feel that we should do what we can do. each day. And God knows our limitation. He knows what we can do. He knows if we got a heavy heart, that today is not one of our better days. But we wake up and we feel good, and we're thankful God for another day on this planet. That today's the day we help someone else, or encourage someone else, or in today's light of all the technology, give someone a call. We don't want to talk to them. What do you call it? Text them and encourage someone else, because we're at a better point today. So anyway, let's go back. Okay, a little bit more on those verses. That I may test them. The blessing of bread from heaven came with the responsibility of obedience. This responsibility would test Israel and measure their obedience. You remember, obedience is better than sacrifice. Obedience is better than sacrifice to God. The test came on the sixth day, when they were to gather twice as much, so the seventh day could be received as a day of rest. Moses, okay, now we're in the sixth through the 8th verse. Moses tells the people about God's coming provision. Then Moses and Aaron said to all the children of Israel, at evening you shall know that the Lord has brought you out of the land of Egypt. And in the morning you shall see the glory of the Lord, for he hears your complaints against the Lord. But what are we that you complain against us? Also Moses said, this should be seen when the Lord gives you meat to eat in the evening, and in the morning bread to the full. For the Lord hears your complaints which you make against him. And what are we? Your complaints are not against us, but against the Lord. Okay. At evening, you should know that the Lord had brought you out of the land of Egypt. One would think that with the experiences of the plagues, Passover, the deliverance through at the Red Sea. Okay, this is all after that. After all those experiences, Israel would already know that the Lord had brought them out of Egypt. Yet experiences, even great experiences, don't change the hearts as much as we often think. Does that sound familiar? God have done all these things for us. And then one day we wake up, we're a little hungry. We're not starving, but we're a little hungry, and we forget all the blessings that he have done for us in the past. All of them. Can't even remember a single one. In the morning you shall see the glory of the Lord. And they will see the glory of God as his enthroned radiance. But in his, let me say that again. They will not see the glory of God as in his enthroned radiance, but in his great loving provision for his people. That is the real display of God's glory. Okay? We're not going to see God, I know, like in a burning bush or on the hilltop. We see God's glory and his love for us in his daily provision for us. He takes care of us. Again, my personal thought is that we have some responsibilities. Much has been given, much is what? Required. So we are, in my belief, we are responsible to do as much as we can with what we got every day. and also remember his blessings. Remember where we came from. I remember as a little boy, I don't know if I was a teenager yet, maybe so. But for years and years and years, I would go to a neighbor's house and read the Bible. Yeah, I know I was a strange child, but at night I would go there, or in the evening time I would go there. My parents will always know where to find me. I'm at Deacon Davis and Mother Davis. At the time, they seemed like ancient, to children. Everybody over 30 was old, but I'm pretty sure they were in their 70s. And this was long before computers. So not only did Mother David have Bibles in different translations, but she had, for the first time I've ever seen or ever heard of, commentaries that help explain the Bible. So every day, for years, I would go over there and we would study the Bible together. Oftentimes it was just me and her. Sometime, and many times, her husband would come in and sit in with us, and we'll study the Bible together. And I remember going over this passage about the children of Israel, how short of memory they had. They prayed and begged God to rescue them for 400 years. And then they went through all these plagues, showing the power of God. And as soon as they leave Egypt, they forget everything. What a short memory. You remember, these were the same folks that created made the golden calf. They just forgot everything. And I just thought that was so amazing. But you know what? As I become an adult, I realized that's not so amazing. It happens all the time with Christians. God, we pray, we're in a bad situation. God, come in and rescue us, or whatever it could be, illness, whatever the situation is, and take care of us. As soon as we're removed from that flame, removed from that hot spot, we forget everything. Forget everything. Forget everything in the sense of how much God loves us and cares for us and provides for us every day. So this is what was going on again with the children of Israel. Okay, when the Lord gives you meat to eat in the evening, this is Exodus 16:4. God promised to give bread from heaven in the morning. Here he also promised to give meat to eat in the evening. So now we'll move down to verses 9 through 12. God shows his glory and promises to provide. Then Moses spoke to Aaron, "Say to all the congregation of the children of Israel, come near before the Lord, for he has heard your complaints." Now it came to pass that Aaron spoke to the whole congregation of the children of Israel, that they looked towards the wilderness, and behold, the glory of the Lord appeared in the cloud. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "I have heard the complaints of the children of Israel. Speak to them, saying, at twilight you should eat meat, and in the morning you should be filled with bread, and you should know that I am the Lord your God." Okay, let's move on down to verses 13, 14. Where God provides quail for meat and bread from heaven. So it was that quails came at the evening and covered the camp. And in the morning the dew lay all around the camp. And when the layer of dew lifted, there on the surface of the wilderness was a small round substance, as fine as frost on the ground. So the quail came in the evening, covered the camp. In a miraculous way, God provided Israel with plenty of meat. Remember, this is the wilderness. In the wilderness. This was a significant display of mercy of God. When Israel complained, God could have answered with judgment or discipline, but he gave them meat instead. The quails here mentioned here migrate regularly from South Europe and Arabia across the Sinai Peninsula. They are small. I'm not sure if I've ever eaten quail, but I've seen them in the stores. But they're small, bullet-headed birds with strong but low flight. usually roosting on the ground in low bushes at nightfall. When exhausted, they will be unable to take off again. The birds are good eating and were a favorite delicacy in the of the Egyptians. Okay, the small round substance, if that is frost on the ground, the bread from heaven came with the dew each morning as some kind of residue from the dew. It was small, round, and fine as frost on the ground. Therefore, it was not either together. It had to be swept up from the ground. Again, they had to work at it. God provides it, but there were effort on their part. So they had to, just like I've said this before, the crossing the Red Sea. They walked across the Red Sea as dry land. You remember that part? As they were leaving Egypt. God could have just picked them up and floated them across. Remember, this is the same God that created Mars, Jupiter, okay, Saturn. He created the world, stars, so many stars out there we can't count. He could have just picked them up and floated them across the Red Sea. I strongly believe is that we have responsibilities. Okay, I've said this before. God take us to a point, but we got to step out in faith. Okay, we got to make that step. Sometimes it's a leap of faith, but there are some responsibilities for us. So here he brings these small round substance, and they had to gather it up. But once they gathered it up, it was so fine they had to sweep it up, in fact. Once they gathered it up, then what? They used it to make bread. Okay. Again, there was effort on their part, and through my life and working with so many churches over the decades and so many locations, that I think sometimes some Christians they're exhausted, and it's hard for them, even when the food has come to them, so to speak. It's hard for them just to gather up and take that next step. You know, God bring the blessing to us, but we have some responsibility. Sometimes it's difficult to know what He wants us to do, especially if you've never done anything like this before. This is the first time bread from heaven, so I'm sure there was a learning.